Welcome back, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt. At this very hour, the California legislature is rushing through a proposed amendment to the state constitution to undo the progressive reform of many years ago, establishing an independent state commission, which isn't independent, it's run by Democrats, to do the maps for congressional districts. They're doing it because Gavin Newsom is running for president and he wants to be in the center of the stage. My question is, at the end of the day, who's going to come out on top? I'm joined by Byron York, Fox News contributor extraordinaire, chief political writer for the Washington Examiner, and extraordinarily observant political savant. Byron, who's going to win the redistricting wars?
You know, just to talk about one detail before we get to that, isn't it right that the plan is to do this redistricting that will only apply to 2026, 2028, and 2030, and then snap back to the independent commission thing? Because the voters have actually approved it twice in California, and there's no evidence that they want to throw out this independent body for doing this. But they just want to do it and get them through 2030.
I did not know that,
Byron.
I wouldn't be surprised because they have sold this. They've sold the independent commission hard and long as being progressive. Now they're undoing their progressive. It'd be like undoing Obamacare for 6 years.
Yeah, it's like saying, these are our progressive values, but we're going to have to put them on the shelf for a few years while we deal with the threat, the singular threat of Donald Trump, who presents a threat to our entire democracy. And then we'll become democratic again after the 2030 census.
But it's going to, I've told everyone my assessment. I lived in California for 27 years and actually 29 if you take my first 2 years out there. The machine is so big and so vast. What they put on the ballot in all likelihood will pass no matter how bad it is for the state. It will be very, very bad for the state, Byron. For example, they're going to try and take out Ken Calvert. He's the chairman of the Defense Appropriations Subcommittee. That will greatly injure the state of California, but they don't care.
Another thing I was going to point out about this that's kind of fascinating, if you just take the California and the Texas examples, and California is losing population.
Yep.
And Texas is gaining population. And I believe one of the arguments for the Texas redistricting is that by this point, halfway through the decade of the 2020s, Texas has gained enough population for, I think, 4 seats, certainly 3 seats. So they're going to pick up seats in 2030, and they're making this argument, which is kind of interesting, although it's not in the Constitution, that, when states' population changes so dramatically, so quickly, maybe they shouldn't have to wait until the next decennial census before they change something. But
the best argument for this,
with a shrinking pie.
Yeah. The best argument for doing this right now is that the census of 2020 was a mess and it screwed Texas. And so they're going to try and right the wrong. And that argument was made by, among others, Rich Lowry. The best case against doing redistricting, it's late Roman Republic stuff. Everyone's always upping the ante. First, Harry Reid broke the filibuster. Then Mitch McConnell broke the filibuster for the Supreme Court. And on it goes because you got to match brass knuckle. I've quoted Joe Malone 5 times today from The Untouchables. If he brings a knife, you bring a gun. If he sends one of yours to the hospital, you send one of yours to his to the morgue. And I think that's where we're headed. And I'm not unhappy with that, Byron. I think the stakes are sufficiently high. Republicans have to play to win. What do you think?
Well, I think looking at the midterms of 2026, I think if we look at it historically, you would bet that the Republican Party is going to lose control of the House.
Yes.
I mean, after all, they've got the tiniest majority ever. So they're going to lose control of the House. And then the first thing the Democratic majority will do is impeach the president because they think maybe it'll work this time for the third time, and third time's a charm. And that will, in any event, whatever legislative agenda the president might have would be out the window. It's all over at that point if Democrats win. So that is, I think, the subtext of everything that's going on right now, which is that the Democratic Party, one of the reasons they are lost is because they don't control the House, they don't control the Senate, and they don't control the White House. and a party that's completely out of power in Washington, has no leader and no direction. And that's where they are now. And the quickest way they can get it is to win the House and impeach Trump.
And the subtext of the subtext, Byron, impeachment makes money. They raise a lot of money on impeachment. Jeremy Raskin,
Yep.
Nobody knew who he was. It makes money. They have an incentive to do it. But at the end of the day, if everyone gets their guns out, if everyone draws their swords, who wins? I think the Republicans do.
You mean in an impeachment?
No, in terms of redistricting the number of seats.
Oh, well, I think it's been pointed out a lot that the Democrats have kind of squeezed as much juice as they can out of the redistricting lemon, and Republicans haven't. And so it's a bad idea to start this arms race for the Democrats because the Republicans just have more ammunition than the Democrats did, because the Democrats have already fired most of their ammunition. They can pick up a seat here and there. Maybe they'll do it in California. And I agree with your assessment that the institutional powers behind it in a one-party state are really, really strong. So what can I say? I think this is really about stopping Trump, and either stopping him cold, just legislatively, or actually trying to remove him from office.
You know, it's interesting, Byron, and I'm going to talk with you in the break about this. It's too late. He got everything he wanted legislatively.
Yeah, right.
It's really, the tax cuts are permanent. The debt relief is done. The debt limit is raised. What are they stopping?
Well, that's a good point. Obviously, the president will still have his executive authority, and we've seen presidents who've lost support or gotten in big trouble and whatever, be kind of reduced their executive authority. But as we've seen with Trump, his executive authority is pretty extensive. His reading of it is extensive, and the courts have basically agreed with him. So, and the cases in which they've disagreed with him have been fewer than the ones they've agreed with him. So Trump is going to have a lot of authority, even if he loses control of the House, in part also because it looks like he will retain control of the Senate, which means he can continue to get people confirmed if there were another Supreme Court vacancy. He's already done it.
And he is establishing the precedent that he can fire all the administrative agency heads he wants and replace them with Republicans. I'm going to talk with Byron about the census during the break, but you'll have to go to my YouTube channel to hear that. Stay tuned, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt. I'm back with Byron York because I'd like to know what he thinks of the state of the census operation right now. You know, President Trump attempted to add a question to the census in his first term. It was struck down by the Supreme Court as being inartfully done and contrary to, I believe, the American Administrative Procedures Act. Do you think he's got smart people in charge of the census this time? So it was really a botched deal in 2020 because of COVID. It's got to be fixed.
I think he does. I mean, one of the things the president wants to do is to find out how many people are in the United States illegally. And, you know, that has been a subject in which people threw around commonly accepted estimates for years. It used to be 7 million and 11 million. Who knows what it is now, 15, 20, something.
I think it's above 20,
bigger.
but nobody knows. I think it's above 20, but nobody knows.
Yeah, nobody knows. But we know that it's a lot bigger after Joe Biden's presidency.
Exactly.
And also, we know that you've heard arguments made that that should matter in the apportioning of congressional seats, although the Constitution does not say citizens; it says people.
It's people.
People. Yeah. So I don't think it's a very strong argument, but it would still be useful to know how many people are in the United States illegally. It might turn out to be an even bigger problem than people think.
And it might figure into the appropriation of money by Congress. So I just wanted to know if you've observed competence infusing the Commerce Department's census effort, and you're satisfied it is competent?
Well, I think almost everything in this administration is better than it was in the first administration. And for this reason, so much of the first administration, and during so much of the first administration, there were people, sometimes in very significant positions, who were trying to undermine the president. And it made for a terrible experience for Trump, and it wasn't good for governing either. So I think we're in a better situation than we were then.
Excellent news. Byron York, thank you. Follow him on X at Byron York, Byron York, and see him on Fox News as well. Thank you, Byron.
Thank you, Hugh.